Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm Deborah Eckerling, creator of the Deb Method for Goal Setting Simplified. I am also the author of Your Goal Guide and 52 Secrets for Goal Setting and Goal Getting. And you can't reach your goals on your own. You need your people. So every week I bring together some of my people to dive into the special topic. And today we're going to have fun with tech, on tech, talking about having fun with tech. I mean, how meta, no pun, but pun totally intended, can you get? You may be watching us as Goal Chat Live. You might be tuning into the replay, or you could even be listening to us as the Goal Chat podcast on the Marketing Podcast Network. No matter how you found us, we are so glad you're here and ready to have some fun with tech. Woohoo!
Woohoo!
Yeah, thank you for, if you're listening, I just got like visual encouragement from my guest today, which is fabulous. I have with me today Marcia Macomber, who is a website and graphic genius and radio show host. I also have Kandas Rodarte. Did I do it right? Close enough?
Yes, close enough.
Excellent. Who hosts the Gratitude Geek podcast. And we met I think months ago, and then we re-met last month, and I'm like, okay, come hang out with me on the podcast, because isn't that what a podcast is for, is catching up with friends and getting to know people as well. And also we have Chris Stone, who is co-host on Dealcasters Live with our friend Jim Fuse, and I was fortunate enough to be on their show a couple months ago when the book came out. And again, if you're listening, you cannot see, he's pointing to the graphic. And by the way, I have to tell you, the little teaser you have with my face very enthusiastically talking about goals, I mean, that is pure essence of Jeb. And I am so grateful that you captured that. Anyway, I brought together these three people. And of course, I love tech as well, because hello, here, the magic of tech enables me to hang out with people, and unless it's on purpose, people who don't know each other, which is the case today, and really just dive into a conversation with the hopes of uplifting, motivating, but giving you actionable items to have things you could do to have more fun with tech, because that's what it's for. It's for bringing people together and showcasing. But I am like now answering the questions I'm going to ask you. So I'm going to stop and give you an opportunity to introduce yourselves a little bit better. So, Marcia, let's start with you. Welcome back to Goal Chat Live.
Well, thank you for having me back, Deborah. I really appreciate it. As Deborah said, I am a web designer. I am a graphic designer. That makes it a little easier for people when they're needing multiple elements on their website. They're needing it to look good, which often comes from those graphic design elements. One of my specialties is working with people who are really afraid of the tech end of websites. So if it seems daunting to remake a website, to start it from scratch, and you've just been loathing and fearing the whole project process, I specialize in helping people who are really apprehensive about it, make it seem fun, make it seem accessible, make it seem like it's something that's going to give them some joy and control over their lives and businesses.
People don't normally put tech and control in the same sentence. Am I wrong?
That's
because
absolutely
the universe, right. It feels like the tech universe frequently knows more than we do. The other thing that you do is you host a radio show, an actual radio show, which I've been lucky enough to be on several times. And so you get to have fun with tech in the audio and in the visual aspects. So why not?
Why not? Exactly right. So it's kind of fun hosting a radio program that extends on beyond the elements of tech and web design and all that. And we focus on a lot of community things, a lot of things that will help listeners out in a lot of different categories, from health and wellness to business advice, business coaching, as well as community events. So it's a lot of fun to host that too.
Well, I am glad to have you here talking about tech. And Kandas, I am so glad we re-encountered each other. We were together on GEM, which is a marketing meetup once a month, and we were in the room, which was Teach for 2 Minutes, and you were having fun talking about sharing podcast appearances, and I'm like, ding, ding, ding. Anyway, glad you could join. Please share who you are, Kandas, aka Gratitude Geek.
Hello, I'm Kandas Rodarte. I am in Michigan, and I did this really crazy thing in 1999. I thought it would be a really good idea to launch a website to sell custom furniture in 1999. So I can truly say that I am an internet marketing pioneer. And I launched my podcast in 2014, so I can say I'm a podcasting pioneer. I love geeky things, which is why there's a geek in my podcast name. What I do for business is I'm a productivity coach. I help female solopreneurs over 50 who half of my clients have had breast cancer, women who have had something crappy happen to them. They're ready to move on to the next part of their lives. And I help them with productivity. A lot of the time we spend learning how to use tools like Canva. I can't tell you how many hours and hours of classes I've taught on Canva. And I host this podcast about gratitude and creating genuine, lasting connections with clients, colleagues, and community. And I've gotten to interview some amazing people. I think that podcasting, if it could be the only thing I do, if I had to choose, you can only do one thing, Kandas, it would be hosting my podcast. And
Wow.
Before you go on, Deb, I am so jealous of you because you have this acronym Deb and you've turned it into your business. How do I turn Kandas into a business?
We'll work on it.
Well, and I would love to. So I've been teaching goals for years, and when I went to rebrand myself, my mom said to me, "You hate SMART goals. Why don't you create Deb goals?" So she named me twice. And if she were still on this earth, I'm sure she would have a great acronym for you. But sadly, she passed last fall. But she would love that you love the name. I will tell you that. And she would also love the fact that you help people out of places of trauma and drama to reclaim their lives and move forward, because that's a lot of what I do. Goals are a choice. You can either face change, you can either run away from change or face it. And when you run into it and embrace it, that is when you thrive, which I know that you absolutely get. So we will brainstorm on naming you your name a little bit later on in the show. Sound like a plan?
Sure, let's do it.
Tangent survived. Chris, good to have you here.
Deb, you're awesome. Thank you for having me on this show. My name is Chris Stone. I have a company called Cast Ahead, and we produce podcasts for motivated entrepreneurs, keynote speakers, business owners who want to show, they just don't want to know how all the stuff works on the back end, and we do that for them. And I also co-host a show called Dealcasters with our good friend Jim Fuse, and we go live on many different places, but also on the biggest mall in the world, Amazon. And we talk about working through the mind junk that can, absorb your brain and keep you from creating when you're trying to get through all of the tech and, what's the best microphone and headphones and interface and all those things that we as, not just podcasters, but people that are presenting virtually have to go through. And that stuff can be frustrating and keep you from doing the things that you want to do and to amplify your voice and to reach other people and connect with other people. And I love, Deb, how you started this off and said that tech was intended to have people connect. And I think a lot of people, if they think like that, then they'll power forward and realize that not a lot of this stuff is very complicated. In fact, it's getting really better in terms of, easily plugging things in and getting things moving. You just got to lean into it a little bit. And that's what we like to do on our show is help people through that stuff.
Yes, lean into it a little bit or a lot of it, right? And Kandas said she's been podcasting since 2014. I started an earlier version, which was the Guide to Goals podcast. I did 2015, 2016, and then my podcasting reemerged as this in 2020 when we were all, at the beginning of lockup. My publisher said, hey, you want a live show to do with your Twitter chat? Twitter chat no longer exists, but it led to Goal Chat in a lot of different ways. So the way that I broadcast, so we go on StreamYard, it is a broadcast that gets disseminated into different places and then uploaded as a podcast. I mean, does it get easier than that in terms of taking your tech and putting it out in the world? I know it sounds like an actual, as semi-rhetorical, semi-actual question, but really, if all you do is live stream and upload your videos, you've got a show. And I think people really get hung up on it needs to be everything to all people. No, it needs to be you and your voice getting it out in the world. Again, I am answering questions before I even ask them. Why do people, I'm going to dial it back. Why do people love/hate tech?
Well, let's
Okay,
start
we've
with
got like
the hard part.
What?
People get frustrated, right? So we'll get the ugly out of the way. I mean, I know that last night myself, something wasn't going right on my computer, and I was in a real rush because I had an appointment to get to, and I ended up having a fit pounding on my keyboard. There's the hate of the love-hate part of tech. But when it works, you're right. It goes back to the connection. Chris said that earlier. When tech is working right, it's about connecting people together. That's why social media platforms have grown and thrived so well, is their ability to connect people.
We spend
Yes.
a lot of time frustrated when the tech isn't working and not enough time appreciating when the tech does work.
Thank you. Yes.
So I am so very grateful that right now StreamYard is working beautifully. You all have beautiful, clear. I can see each of you clearly. I can hear each of you clearly. The tech is working fantastically, and I am grateful for it.
And on brand, Gratitude Geek. Love it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it reminds me of that stand-up by Louis C.K. where he's flying in the airplane and somebody's complaining about the Wi-Fi on the plane, and he's like, "You are flying through the sky in a tin can." I don't know. I'm paraphrasing. It's like, I think these live video, Deb, which we are doing right now, is the perfect example of it helped me overcome. Not completely overcome. I'm a recovering perfectionist. But I think a lot of people are a little more forgiving with live video. And that's why we encourage a lot of clients to start with a live video as their podcast. It becomes the origin piece. It becomes the cornerstone of many different things. You can create something like 90 different pieces of content from one live video. And so why not, if you're already doing that, you're doing that live video, you're building a community of people and you're connecting with people, then you can just parse that out into different things and not have to worry about all of the time and the tech in order to do that. A lot of the programs like Descript and some others, Cast Magic, and they do a lot of the lifting that when you guys were first, podcasting back when the microphone was invented, apparently, then, like now you just take that and you plop it in and AI is giving you 10 different titles you can choose from. You add your human element into it, make it your own thing, and add the Deb method, sprinkle a little, Deb dust on it. And all of a sudden you got, 90 pieces of content. And I think that's exciting. If I'm someone who doesn't know how that stuff works, you jump on YouTube University, you Google a few things and you search for a few things, and all of a sudden, a 5-minute video later, you're like, I can do this Descript thing. All I got to do is take my live video and plop it into there, and I have this kind of stuff. You don't have to do all of it at once. And I think that's what's the frustrating is everybody wants to boil the ocean at once. It's like, no, you don't. Just start here. Just do your thing. And if Pinterest is your thing, then do it on Pinterest. If Instagram's your thing, do it on Instagram. If you just want to do an audio podcast, that's okay. Don't get too crazy because everybody's talking about video podcasting. It's okay. You don't have to do it, at least not yet. And you can kind of grow into all of this stuff. And I think people still have to learn to be patient because there's a lot of people doing it, but not a lot of people doing it well. And I think you really have to focus on serving your audience and don't get too mired up in all of the wires and the AIs and all that crazy stuff.
While we're on the topic of Descript.
Oh,
so
one of my favorites.
I gave Descript a trial run. I signed up for the trial and I thought, let me play with this and let me see what I can do with this. So I took a 3-minute video clip that I wanted to get down to less than 60 seconds so I could upload it as a YouTube short. Right. Mm-hmm. So it's about 3 minutes. I wanted it to be 60 minutes, 60 seconds. An hour later, I was so mad that I shut it down to Script and I went back into my video editor. And 7 minutes later, I had my 60-second video. So the whole reason I'm saying that is that just because the tech is out there, that there's this brand new, great thing that's new and exciting, doesn't mean that the old thing doesn't work too.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm not giving up my old video editor.
Hey, whatever works for you, you do you, right? I think that's key. But how long were you working with your old video editor before you tried Descript?
So
years.
I've had,
you had learning curve.
I had the learning curve, right? And Descript is a completely different animal. If I'd started with Descript, it was the first thing I ever did, it would probably be intuitive, but it's not intuitive if you're used to video or editing based on the audio sound, the sound waves on the audio and the video cues and not even looking at the printed words.
Yeah.
So my whole point was just because there is something shiny new in the tech world doesn't mean you have to adopt it.
That's true.
I have to tell you why I love Descript. And this one, I don't edit unless it's something like really needs to be edited between this and what goes on in the audio version. But the other show I do, Taste Buds with Deb, those I pre-record. They're bite-sized conversations. So I like them to be 20, 25 minutes. And as you may have noticed, I'm a little prone to tangents. So frequently I will edit myself out of some of the conversations if I get a little too food geeky. Anyway, my point is I love Descript because I was freelance writing in the days of Dragon Naturally Speaking, where you had to actually train your voice transcription software and it still didn't work. So I will say the one thing that Descript has going for it, and I'm sure the others as well, as far as transcriptions are concerned, I think it's up there as one of the most accurate. Which has nothing to do with videoing. I just had to share that I lived through the dark days where you spent hours upon hours of training the audio and it still didn't work. And the fact that now it magically happens without training is pretty mind-blowing. I see a lot of nodding going from Marcia.
It made me think of Kandas's theme here of the gratitude we have for the advancements, because I very vividly remember training Dragon Naturally and being like, how many more hours of this do I have to do? And I ran out of patience like everybody else did. Mm-hmm. So, and now we're into instant, transcripting on so many platforms. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's crazy. And Deb, the other thing, back to your original question, like why the love-hate relationship with tech. And I used to be, when I first started doing this podcasting thing, not like back in the Stone Age when you guys claimed to have started podcasting.
Wait. Okay, fine. Go on.
That was not an age thing. That was more like, you guys are, it started way before I did on podcasting.
I'm 29 years old.
Wow. Wow. That's incredible. You are a lot younger than I am. So, so in terms of podcasting,
wait, which would make her 3 when she started selling furniture online in 1999.
that's incredible.
Exactly. I was ahead of my time.
This
Just a
also
phenom.
explains the cotton candy hair.
A furniture online prodigy. Yeah, and I think a lot of times when I was working with clients, I would be like, you got to push through it, you got to do the reps, we have to do, and after a while, they just didn't like it. They just didn't like doing it, and I don't think anybody likes to see or hear somebody that doesn't have a passion for what they're doing. And I think a lot of tech can get people so frustrated and doing it that they just end up quitting, and or they just are frustrated doing it the whole time. And sometimes you just got to farm some of that stuff out to people, right? You got to find a VA, or you got to find, if you're not a graphics person, you can learn how to be one, but if you really don't enjoy doing that, you might want to find different ways to farm that stuff out to somebody that knows Canva a little bit better than you, or is more of a graphic designer. Or I guess now with ChatGPT, we can just give it a few prompts, and we've got some Deb Eckerling level graphics. What was that?
Okay. And again, I'm with Kandas. I write because I love to talk. I love to share people's stories. And the ultimate goal in my world is to just do this, to be bringing people together to share advice and conversations. I do the tech, but in some of it is, I remember way back when I started doing events for Barnes & Noble. So this is back when I lived in Chicago, and I've lived in LA for more than 27 years. So do whatever math you want on that.
So you're 29.
Anyway, back in the 90s, when I started doing events for Barnes & Noble, I was told the first thing you have to do is set up this event, and the second thing you have to do is create the calendar. And this is when it was InDesign. Remember InDesign? I sat at Kinko's for 2 days and learned InDesign so I could copy the format. So bringing back to the point of, I'm like tech adjacent. I have no problem with tech. I like tech. I like figuring things out. But it does get to a point where just because you can do something doesn't mean you need to do everything.
Yep.
Yeah.
I want your, before we go a little bit more into nitty gritty about how to love tech more, I just want everybody's short answer to the question of, why do you love tech? Chris, what is it that you love best about it?
It solves problems for me and for other people that I work with. That's just it. I love being able to have somebody say, "Can you do this?" And I do it. Or I would say to myself, why can't I get more pictures of Jim Fuse for my Dealcasters thumbnails? Oh, I have an AI program that I can create a Flux Laura of him, and now we can create different looking, graphics. And so I go down that rabbit hole of AI to create these things that look more realistic or whatever. It solves the problem that, that is in front of me or in front of the clients that I serve.
Great. Marcia?
Good one. How many ways can I love tech? Let me count the ways. There are so many. So, first of all, we're all at different points of the globe, yet we're all having a conversation and looking at each other's faces. I can now work from my home instead of having to commute into the city to an office downtown to do this kind of work, which means when my dog's been jumping on my leg out of camera range because she wants me to pet her while we're all talking, I can multitask in that one action. I can solve other problems across the room. I don't have to waste time and money on gas and repairs to my car because my commutes are a lot shorter now. I can work with clients around the globe with great ease. And it's made us so much more productive. It takes me now 6 months to go through a ream of paper printing things than it did, 20 years ago, where we were buying cases of paper, not just one ream at a time at Staples. So I keep going.
Well, for your one-liner that I gave you from what you said is it connects us remotely and makes us more productive.
Yep, absolutely.
So my answer
Kandas?
is what Marcia said.
Well, can you yes and it a bit?
Yes, and what I love is that, okay, so I was going to say that I'm extremely adventurous, but I hate to leave the house. And with tech, you can be adventurous without ever leaving your house.
Yeah. I love that.
Yes.
But I do love the globalness of it all. I mean, I have clients in Canada. I've had clients in South America. You don't have to rely on your local community to have a business these days. You can have a business globally, and it's so easy.
Yeah.
You just have to remember what time zone you're in.
Which is a big one. And
Well,
what time
you don't
zone
even
your
have
clients
to
are in.
remember. You just have to make sure everybody's clock is accurate when you set appointments.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, because tech does that for us. Tech figures out what time it is. I mean, because there are countries where their time difference is on the half hour instead of the hour. We can't remember any of that, but they can. Tech can.
That is.
Bravo,
I
Kandas.
love it. Well, so there's so many different avenues to go in. Let's talk for a few minutes about tech and graphics. So what program, Canva's already been used. I think Canva is kind of like the easy peasy way. What other graphic tools do you use, and how does having tech graphic things make your life or your business's life better?
All of those things. Well, I'll jump in on some of it. Being a longtime graphic designer, I learned the hard way. I got a book that had a CD in an envelope, or maybe it was even a floppy disk. I can't remember at this point. In a little envelope that was stuck in the back of the book, so you could do one lesson at a time locally. I, of course, learned on Adobe, so I was an Illustrator girl and a Photoshop girl, and I still am. But as an example, I find that I end up using PicMonkey a lot. I don't know how I landed on PicMonkey, but it's like Canva. And in terms of being able to make collages for my radio program of upcoming guests, Deb's seen all of these. It's much faster and much more efficient than Photoshop will ever be at making these fast little collages to then share on social media about my show. So we all go out and as Kandas described, we test out a program and we go, I just spent an hour of my time trying to figure out how to use this program, and it is not this intuitive. So we try and we drop some and we keep other programs that work for us. So that's my go-to. And yes, I use InDesign occasionally for my rare print projects these days. And now we use cloud devices and cloud software instead of local stuff. So it's all a matter of getting used to the latest adjustments, including AI, generative fill. Woohoo!
So when I was having to put photos of furniture up on the internet, we just
when you were 3.
Yeah, when I was 3, we didn't like the way that the furniture looked with the wood shop in the background, with the table saws and all that. So I used a program called Paint Shop Pro to painstakingly cut out silhouettes of every single photo that we put. And then I put a drop shadow on it, all of that. Painstakingly, it would take hours per piece. And now with the click of a button, the background can be removed in almost every single graphic design software out there. You can just one click, background's removed. So ease of use. And Marcia, I would like you to close your ears for a second. I didn't have a logo for KandasRodarte.com. Marcia, close your ears. So I asked ChatGPT to design a logo for me, and it did a brilliant job. So if you go to my website, the logo in the upper corner was designed by ChatGPT.
If it works and you're happy, I got no argument.
I know. Chris,
Well,
what about you?
but isn't that the point of everything is figure out what works for you and do more of what works for you and get rid of the stuff that doesn't?
Absolutely.
I mean, that's kind of even the purpose of my new book, 52 Secrets for Goal Setting and Goal Getting. I interviewed 60 people and I said, what is your secret for setting goals or getting goals? And now people have a choose their own adventure where they can take other people's advice out for a spin, do more of what works and less of, or eliminate what does not. So if it works for you, no, you're not going to get judgment from other people. You just have to keep owning it, right?
Yeah. Well, and I think that's really important with goal setting. Are we going on a tangent here?
Yes, we are.
A tangent. Okay. Because you are absolutely right. One way of goal setting isn't the right way for everybody. And the fact that you interviewed 60 people and you only got 52 different ways is surprising to me.
No, it's 52.
Bonuses.
No, it's 52 secrets, but I put out too many feelers and I had more than 52. So there's a bonus in each chapter.
Okay.
I didn't have the heart to say no to eliminate people from my book. So I just added them in that way.
But the answer to the question, Kandas, how do you get so much done, isn't a list. It's Kandas. It isn't Deb. I mean, it isn't a list. It's Deb. Deb gets it done. Marcia gets it done. Chris gets it done. We get it done in our own way. It's hard to teach somebody the way that we do it because it's our way. It's what works for us. All we can do is encourage them to find their own way or use the Deb
what
method.
Deb's book does.
Yeah.
What it is use the inspiration from other people, their secrets, and anecdotes or examples from their life.
Yeah, and then figure out what works for you, for yourself.
Yes, because I have a guru problem, and we all know these gurus. I've talked about coaching enough on this show that everybody knows one person who says, do exactly this, and it's going to work for you. No, because we're not carbon copies of each other. We do not have everybody's background, expertise, support system. And it doesn't work that way. But what you can do is you can take pieces of what works for people and make your own path. Okay, now I have over tangented. So Chris, graphics, thoughts? How's that for Whiplash?
What Kandas said. No, I think the thing left for me is I can give you a bunch of the stack of tools that I use to create the graphics that I do. But I think it dovetails into what you guys are talking about, which is you have to make it your own. And so I am like, whenever I see like a viral thing, if somebody's creating their own action figure or if somebody's doing something that is this, that, or the other, I immediately think to myself, okay, what can I do that's different, right? And not for the sake of doing different things, or like when I look at a Canva template and they're beautiful. I've got nothing against Canva whatsoever. I use Canva all the time. I'm in it every day. But it is a template, and if you just open it up and maybe just change the words, guess who else is also using that? And a lot of AI stuff is generative. Its origin is something that somebody else has said or done or whatever. So I'm really sort of aware of stuff, and I want what I put out there in terms of graphics for my clients and for me to be something that feels as original as it can be. It may have started in Canva, and maybe the the design or where the font is, or I really kind of like the structure of that. But I'm putting in different images, so I'm pulling in stuff from DALL-E for the backgrounds. You can see this image that I have behind me. I'm using Flux LoRa to, because I've built these AI sort of bots or images of me and Jim and my clients, and sort of creating something that's thematic for the show, that's on brand for the show, but really highlights and focuses on the guests of the show. And so I use, you mentioned Adobe, Marcia, Firefly and generative fill and things like that, because when you create something with ChatGPT's new image model, which is great, absolute, I want to use the word game changer, right? But it is pretty woodshed moment, because it's like now all of a sudden everybody's got an easy button on their desk, right? And so as graphic designers, we have to not only raise our level, but also jump out of this mediocrity middle where everybody's piling their stuff in the middle, right? And so, like, how do we rise above it? How do we do something that's different that everybody else can just hit a button and do? And so that generative fill thing with Adobe is, if I create an image with it, and I want it to be on a thumbnail, but it's like over on the edge, or maybe it's got 7 fingers on one hand, or maybe it's, we've all seen this, some of it is really bad, but like almost good, right? Don't use what's almost good. Like, make it your own. And so with generative fill, you can pull it into Adobe, drag it off to the side, and leave this blank space over in the other, because I want to put words over here. Right? And so you drag it over into the corner and then just say, hey, fill this. And all of a sudden it just fills the rest of the image, like, oh my gosh, that looks like the rest of the studio, or that looks like the rest of this, that, or the other. And then you could start to really free yourself up for what you envision for that design. So I use a bunch of different stuff to do it. I really don't have one main thing. I jump into Photoshop sometimes because it doesn't have what I can do, and what Canva doesn't have things that Photoshop doesn't have, and Firefly, and I'm jumping back and forth because I want to get to something at the end that looks not like anything else.
Yeah.
And
Well,
I was going to say, and I love, in particular, I keep getting stuff, well, on all of your words, but in particular, your phrase, you have to make it your own.
Yeah.
Going back to, you can have all the toys and the tools at your disposal, but you also don't want to be other people. Right? I mean,
they're taken.
So you might as well be you, right?
That's it. And if it isn't perfect, that's okay. Perfect is boring.
Perfect is boring. The other thing there is one particular, I don't know if it's like a beach image. Do you remember when that was like the background of everybody's website?
Yeah.
And I'm getting the knowing smile and nod from Marcia in particular. It was like everybody thought that this was, it's sort of like when you go into the templates of websites, it's, the cool ones are the ones that people want to cheat off of, which is great, but again, no differentiation. So let's play in the space of podcasting and video casting now. What tools Chris was like rubbing his fingers together like this mad
I know it's a
scientist.
challenge for me because I have to
But
be
it's a
very
good one.
succinct on this topic.
Yes. So what are the tech tools that you think are the easiest and the most beneficial for people for podcasting, video casting, whatever asking? Are you ready to go, Chris, or should I start with Kandas?
I'll leave the floor for the other ladies here. I'll go last.
Okay,
I just went.
Kandas.
So what's the question?
I was asking about podcasting and video casting tools to make it easy, because I think this is
I have an
what we're
answer.
deciding is the secret with tech is to make it easy, but to make it your own.
Mm-hmm. I have an answer. So
Excellent.
my podcast has been hosted on Libsyn since 2014. I have my own website, and every single podcast episode gets turned into a blog post. Everything is already working seamlessly. I am not changing the way that I do anything with my podcast. However, if I were to start a brand new podcast and start from scratch, I would go to oh, now I'm having a brain fart. Hold on. It's a relatively new website for writers, but they added podcasting. Substack. I would go to Substack because it streams it feeds your podcast to all.
You can put it in Substack.
Yeah, you can upload your audio files to Substack, write your blog post that goes with the podcast, do all your show notes and everything, and then Substack does all the work that Libsyn has been doing for the last 11 years for me, right? I would start on Substack because it's everything is there in one spot.
Is there, and I have a feeling Chris is going to know the answer to this, is there a reason to not also put stuff on Substack?
Well, Substack's not a podcast, an audio podcast host. It will host an audio, a version of your audio podcast on Substack for you to listen to.
It's a host.
But you can't like pull it up in Apple, right?
Yes,
so you need distribution.
Yes,
so your RSS feed.
Your RSS feed from Substack can be fed to Apple. Yes, absolutely.
From Substack.
From
like
Substack.
You like so it
yes.
so
that is what I'm saying. If I were to start over, I would start on Substack because it eliminates 3 different things. It eliminates the website, the podcast host, and the RSS feed.
Because I know you can put your RSS feed in Substack. We've done that. But your podcast is imported just like any podcast player. And it shows up on your Substack. People can play it, and you can put your video in there and do the blog post and all that.
It feeds it. It will create a new RSS feed to Apple if you do it that way.
Oh, so it would be a duplicate.
Yeah. It's pretty amazing. I'm not. I don't. That's as much as I know because I'm not going to switch. But I just told somebody this morning who was thinking about doing a podcast. If I was to start over, I'd start with Substack. Because it's got, it emails your mailing list. You can monetize. It does everything, except for record the episode. Chris doesn't believe me.
Chris is Googling. I can tell.
I'm not Googling. No, I'm not Googling. I'm just.
You're not? Why aren't you?
No, I'm looking at our RSS feed. We have one RSS feed. All right, so. I agree. Substack is fantastic. We're just dipping our toe into it, and others have been on it for a number of years. It's a great way to monetize without having to have thousands of subscribers. So if you're someone that impacts a niche, it is an incredible way to just, if something you can create a $5 tier, or you can create, larger tiers. And I think, like you want to call it the gig economy, creator economy, or whatever, it forces us as creators to really put frameworks around how we structure what people will pay for and get past this mind junk of saying, oh, no, nobody's going to pay this for what I do here. You'd be surprised. And I understand that the horse is out of the barn and been for years, since 2014, or whatever, when all podcasts are free. But when you create valuable content for a specific amount of people, and they'll pay for it, and you have a platform like Substack that does it very well, I agree. I think that's I'm bullish on that platform for sure.
The other thing I want to say is if you are going to podcast, you need to invest in a microphone because it is so obvious when you don't have one.
Oh,
I like churn them off. I don't care how compelling the topic is. If they don't have a microphone and it's bouncing off the walls, I can't listen to it. So those are my 2 things.
And you're saying this as when I do this show, I use my old-fashioned earbuds. I do have a microphone that I use for when I'm doing one-on-ones on my other, but I have found for this show, this actually works better.
Yeah, you do have a microphone.
Yes,
you do have a microphone.
I'm just using.
I'm talking about the people using their webcams, Mike.
Oh, okay.
I mean,
I feel so.
Your sound isn't bouncing off the walls. People who just use their webcam.
Yes, No, I'm with you. I had to clarify that because, and I do that as well. Earbuds. If you do not have at least earbuds, if I am interviewing you, I will, unless, do you have earbuds, Marcia? I can't tell.
I don't. I don't have earbuds.
But whenever I'm on your radio show, you're very
I'm at the station
up
with the big fancy system.
Magic. Okay, then. What DAG tips do you have for audio and video podcasting?
Are you asking me? Sorry.
Yeah.
I did miss that one.
Yes, Marcia, I'm asking you.
I'm going to say what Chris and Kandas said, because the radio show is all done at the station. So it's all their equipment. And they do all of it. I got out of the podcasting business myself a few years ago. And when I was doing that, I was toting around a big soundboard and a big suitcase of microphones and cables and mic stands and SIM cards to record on, which occasionally would get lost when they were pulled out of the recorder in some weird way. And you're literally, I've had my co-hosts and I on the ground sifting through stuff on the ground to try to find a SIM card that fell out of something.
Wow.
So I'm not the one to answer that question for you.
So your answer is you can buy and use all the toys you need if you need to.
Yeah.
Okay, that works.
I also, what I'm hearing is, because when I first started, I recorded on a recorder as well with the little SIM cards, and you don't have to do that anymore. I mean, everything can be stored in the cloud or locally. I mean, it's so much easier now. It's simpler. I mean, really, you need a microphone, headphones, a webcam if you're going to do video, and you are good to go.
Yeah. So I just don't do that anymore. And it's the radio station when I'm there that's recording everything and automating all the stuff. So not my issue.
Okay, then. And
I'm a little jealous.
Yeah, Deb, I'm glad I went last. Now I can talk about Hawaii. Everybody here is wrong. No, I'm kidding. No, this is an awesome group. I love it. So this is my jam. This is when Jim and I started Dealcasters. This is why we did it, is because we work with clients all the time, and they don't know how, like, this is not what they do, right? Especially like during COVID, where, it was a keynote speaker and they're used to being up on a stage and somebody walking up and putting a microphone on them and then them taking the stage. And now all of a sudden all their business goes away and they're going to have to learn how to do this and do virtual keynotes and figure out how, microphones and, switchers and all of these things. And they just couldn't do it because they didn't understand it. And we just got to break it down like this. Get in a small room, get some carpeting on the floor, put some fluffy stuff around you. All the stuff that you don't see outside of the frame, it's a good thing because it is a train wreck around me. But this is fluffy stuff to prevent what Kandas is talking about, which is your voice bouncing off of all of the glass that's in front of you, which is you can't really avoid because you're going to have screens in front of you. But if you've got a high ceiling and you've got glass and you have stuff that your voice bounces around, that stuff reflects, makes that echo. And what happens is, not only does it not sound necessarily good, you don't have to sound like Howard Stern or Joe Rogan, but people can't understand you. And that is the point of all of this, is that you are clearly understood. And if you're in this cacophonous echo chamber then everybody else's voices will crush you in the audio spectrum. So you have to get a dynamic microphone, get it close to your mouth. Doesn't cost much. Like Samson Q2U, Audio Technica 2100, they're $40 mics. Those are great microphones. And you plug it right into your computer. You get it up off of your desk, because your desk, when you tap on it, makes vibrations. Vibrations is sound. And then you get the headphones or you get earbuds like this if you want to keep, you want to make yourself look beautiful, like Marcia over there. When you don't want the cans on your ears. That's cool, And the reason why is because your audio goes in here and not into your microphone. And once you tell people that and you break it down simply, get the camera. You don't need a 4K camera. They make great 1080p webcams. Just make sure there's a light in front of you so you don't look like you're in witness protection. And then, you have that dynamic microphone and you're off to the races. You're not worried about it. You're delivering what's most important. People can clearly understand you. And then eventually you're like, okay, now I'm getting the hang of it. Now I can get a more expensive microphone if you want an expensive microphone, or if you wanted to, too many people start and they get the Rodecaster Pro and they spend $600 for that. They buy the $500 Shure SM7B. They buy this and all of a sudden they spend $2,500 on this setup and they don't know how to use it. And they can't do it. And so you start simple, and then you graduate as you get better. Does that answer the question, Deb? You're giving me that look again. I think I like you're about to say.
Look?
And
I'm agreeing with you.
Okay.
I have a yoga mat because I don't have carpeting, but I keep a yoga mat on the floor of my office because I've got wood floors, and it's not much, but it makes a difference. I've got mirrors to my right, so I've got canvases, bouncing around the walls.
There you go.
I love that you talked about the non-tech that you need, which is to make the space your own. And it doesn't matter. No one's ever going to see what's off camera in my office. Trust me, even though I reference it a lot when I'm doing workshops. Before we jump into goals, though, I'm going to do another rapid fire. What will it take, do you think, or what do you have to say to people to help them get that tech can and should be fun? It goes back into when you love what you do, it shows. When you don't love what you do, it really shows. If you're not becoming BFFs with tech, or at least as friends, you don't have to be BFFs with tech, but you should at least be friends with tech.
Is there anybody who isn't friendly with tech? I mean, this is 2025.
I have clients who are not friendly with tech.
They don't use a cell phone?
Oh, they use a phone, but for instance, they can't attach files to emails to send them because they don't understand the hierarchy and structure of how files are stored on their computer.
God bless you for dealing with that.
Yeah,
Wow. Okay.
I don't think I could. I can't do it. I couldn't do it.
It's hard.
I'm gonna rephrase the question though. We can all agree everybody has to view tech as necessary in the world in which we live now. How can people see tech as fun rather than just a tool? Kandas?
I think you just sort of have to make it fun. Like, we're always complaining about, well, I'm in another Zoom meeting today. I got to go to another Zoom meeting. Well, you know what? Zoom has all these things called apps. Play with the apps. Find some fun Zoom apps to make your meetings a little bit more engaging. Or I can't think of anything that somebody doesn't like about tech, because I'm a tech person. So this is a hard question for me because it's fun, right? Tech is fun. So I don't understand it when it's not. Get over yourself and have a good time.
Okay, so your advice is to embrace the fact that tech is fun and find ways to have fun with tech.
Exactly, because I can't think of anybody who wouldn't think it's fun.
I would say
that's not the answer that you wanted, but.
Well, I'm like you, Kandas, and I love it too. I absolutely love what I do. But I think, kind of going back to what you said earlier, Deb, it's about connection. And so I've got one guy that I work with, and he went through some stuff early in his life to where he went through some terrible. Let me just he went through some terrible things that were very personal that had to do with tech. And so he shared that with me, and we were doing a video, like he was a host of a video podcast. So it's tough for him to get like even in front of computers and to do that. But it wasn't until he surrounded himself and found a community of other people online to where he could kind of, connect with them and share, how they, went through those same things. So I would encourage someone who, you hear it all the time. You're like, I'm not a tech person. Well, you just are someone that may not like something, had a bad experience with the script or something. And now you're saying you're not a tech person, but you really just didn't. I'm not saying you're not a tech person, of course, Kandas, but I'm saying like, you have to go through some stuff to develop some expertise, right? And then you're like, oh, that's how that works. And then the light goes on and all of a sudden you like to do it and you're passionate about it. But I think you got to connect with other people too. And doing this, like we're doing tonight, is a way to do it. Like jump in communities, live streams. And there's so many communities out there too. And I'm sure there is a I hate tech community, where everybody, or how to get better at tech because I'm afraid of it. And like just Google it and you could, I'm sure you could do it. But I would seek out people that you can connect with that will help you, become more confident.
As you were speaking, I realized that we all had to learn how to ride a bicycle.
Yeah.
And it wasn't easy. But we kept trying. And when we got really good at it, it was so much fun. Tech is the same way. You have to keep practicing until you get good at it.
That's an interesting analogy.
I like that.
And I'm going to and what you, Chris, said is it's not just about finding a community of people who might also be a little tech hesitant, but if you find a community and you find the joy in using tech, then tech is going to be joyful.
Yeah.
So there's that.
Yeah.
Marcia?
I was thinking about what Chris said, and, it's going to be hard for certain people. There's a certain generation that is aging out that wasn't brought up with it. And some of them have embraced it and love that the tool makes things so much easier for them. There are others of the same generation who are afraid of it and can't do well with it. And their ability to connect with others is limited because they are uncomfortable with tech, and they're aging out. There's going to be fewer of them around. The other people who have apprehension are those perhaps who have had to deal with identity theft or some kind of mishap. Yeah. Let's say like when a website or a computer or something like that is being held hostage, for a fee, when they've had a bad experience with a hacker. So they're going to have a harder time with it. But as soon as they find that connection with other people by using tech tools, it starts to turn it around and it can help snowball. And particularly once you start getting feedback from podcasts and shows that say, oh, I saw you on, or I heard your podcast. This bolsters the confidence and the comfort level. And like Kandas was saying, riding the bicycle gets better. The skill level goes up, and boom, it's starting to get fun.
And as you get comfortable with it, you get more from it. It's like with anything else, right? Like spinach. Maybe you don't like spinach, but spinach is good for you. So you try it a little bit of a time.
Kale.
You eat a little bit at a time and realize, ooh, I'm healthier for eating kale. You're more social for using tech. Yeah. And tech, in that way, it will spiral in the right direction. There you go. Always a very interesting road we go on Goal Chat. At this point, I would love for you each to gift a goal to the audience what is something that they could do today, tomorrow, immediately to have more fun with tech, or it could just be a fun tech goal, something that they can try out, take for a spin. Marcia, what goal would you like to gift?
Try a new program, try a new app or service. If you're not sure Google what you're interested in, are you looking for an app that does, other photographic events and creations, of images? Give it a whirl, try it out, make it a goal, see how you feel about it. And when you feel stuck, like Kandas described, sometimes you're trying something new and it's not working the way your old program worked. You know what? Go take your dog for a walk and just let it kind of spill over for you and relax, because often the solution comes to you when it's not right in front of your face pressing on you. So that would be the goal I would pass on to everybody.
I like that. And if you don't like the thing you've tested out, you don't have to use it. You can go try something else.
Absolutely.
Kandas, what goal would you like to gift?
So I was thinking about it. I didn't really know what I was going to say, but now I have it. So there's 122,000 podcasts that do interviews. So 122,000 podcasters are looking for guests for their show. And every single person listening to this right now is an expert at something. So my challenge is to make it a goal to be a guest on one podcast, because your message needs to be heard by somebody.
I love it. And for those who want to be a guest on Gold Chat, I host a monthly mixer now. Next one's May 21st, because I was getting interest from people I didn't know. So I figured I had to come up with a way to get to know them. So I will put, if you go to thedebmethod.com/blog, I will put the link to sign up for my May mixer. So yes, people need to hear your voice, and we need to be friends so I can bring your voice to my stage. Great goal, Kandas. And Chris, goal?
I saw today that ChatGPT just crossed the 1 billion user mark. And it just got me thinking just how many people have access to this incredibly powerful thing. We didn't touch a lot on AI today, but I did touch on this a bit, and I just wanted to maybe just underline it. And that is, this is not your content yet. Okay. And so when you are using ChatGPT to create something, to generate something, because out of any large language model, let's not just ChatGPT, all of them, the Claudes and the, throw a rock and there's going to be 16 new ones that are going to pop up. But, that content is not yours yet. And so you have to really you've already shortened the time frame by hours and hours and hours to get what you've gotten out of it. And so just take a few extra moments and make it yours. Insert yourself into it at the human loop. Make sure it's in your voice. Make sure it's accurate. AI likes to lie to you. And so you just want to make sure that what you're saying does not just get thrown into the pile of mediocrity that's everyone else is doing. You can rise above the noise and really be tactical about what you want to do. And then that way it's going to reach the person that you want to reach.
Can I yes and to Chris?
Yes, and you may.
Yes. So one of the ways that you can make AI your own is, rather than copying and pasting, is actually typing it. So if ChatGPT gives you an answer and you want to use that in some way, type it in wherever you're going to go. And then you will type the words that you would say instead of the words that ChatGPT said.
And you'll type less.
Because
lots of times the amount of words you get is it's too much. Yeah, that's
this is
another
2020
bonus gift.
We all know how to type. No excuses for not knowing how to type. We all know how to type. It's 2025.
I don't know how to write well, but I can type well.
Anyway, There's
Okay.
my yes and.
Thank you. Thank you for yes anding. What a wonderful conversation from
We lost Deb.
I
She's
know,
frozen.
isn't that funny?
No,
We're
I'm
all
here.
here.
Oh, now you're back.
Okay, you're back.
You were frozen to us.
Oh, okay. So I was probably frozen to the universe. Sorry, universe. Marcia, where can people learn more about you?
Fun with tech, right? When you get frozen on the screen. Learn more about me at cornucopiacreations.com. It's a big mouthful. cornucopiacreations.com. There's lots more
Excellent.
there.
And Candace, where can people learn more about you?
It's KandasRodarte.com. Just like you see my name on the screen, KandasRodarte.com.
Excellent. And Chris?
I'm at castahead.net.
Excellent.
Wow, that was quick. You have the fastest fingers in the West. How did you do that, Deb?
I'm just amazing. What
She's
can I
having
tell
fun
you?
with tech.
I'm having fun with tech. And if you go to the devmethod.com/blog, you can watch the replay, get the recap, get all the goals. And as I said before, I'm live every Monday at 4 p.m. Pacific on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. And you can follow me at the Deb Method everywhere. And you can also subscribe to Goal Chat. And if you want my other podcast, Taste Buds with Deb, on your favorite podcast platform. And if you need a little bit of help with your goals, tech or otherwise, you can grab a copy of your goal guide and or 52 secrets for goal setting and goal getting at your favorite place to buy books. Friends, techie friends, what final thought would you like to leave us with today? Candace, final thought?
Just do it. Have fun. Just do it. Make it fun.
Okay. And Marcia?
I would say if something is not fun, if you can pinpoint what that is and how you can change it to be fun, you've just made a big step forward.
Okay. I like that one. If something isn't fun, it isn't within your power to find a way to change it to make it fun. Absolutely. And Chris, you get the final thought.
Yeah, if it's not fun, what are we doing? You know, I mean, seriously, like this tonight was fun. Thank you, Deb, so much for, and I got to meet 2 new friends as well. And this is the most underrated component of podcasting is networking. It is networking, and and I'm seeing a yes and thing. So it's like Candace. I think Candace is that's your sign. Like Chris, I'm gonna dovetail underneath you. So I'm gonna land the plane here. But it is truly one of the most underrated components of podcasting. You don't have to do something because you're supposed to do a podcast because somebody in your business is doing a podcast. You can do a podcast to meet new people, and those people you can connect with, and maybe some business happens, but maybe you just make a friend.
Yeah.
Did you want to verbally say something other than the
No.
fun stuff?
No, I didn't realize I had a yes and lollipop. And I was like, I can't believe I had this yes and lollipop right here on my desk and I haven't been using it for this whole thing.
That's awesome.
It's fantastic.
Well, and thank you all for illustrating, and Chris specifically for what you just said. If ever anybody asks me what is my favorite form of networking, I say it's my podcast because, as I said at the top of the show, it's a great way to get to know new friends better or reconnect with older friends. If I haven't seen someone in a while, I'll be like, hey, come on the show. Let's hang out. And the joy, the benefit of being able to connect other people, that's why we're here. That's why we're human. We're all in this together, so we might as well use our voice to spread our message, but also uplift the messages of others. And that is a wonderful way to get who you are and what you do out there. Thank you again, Marcia, Candace, and Chris for joining me. Thank you for tuning in. Everyone.
Thank you, Deb.
And for choosing yourself and your goals. So go out there, have fun with tech, but also have fun with all that you do. Go out there, go for it, because we know you can do it.